Swimming with whales, sharks and sea turtles, diving so deep that the volume of your lungs more than halves under the pressure, holding your breath for over 150 seconds and swimming the whole length of a swimming pool underwater, and even a near-death experience. This was all a part of my level 2 freediving experience. Well, not all of it was to do with the course. The near-death experience was something that happened the morning of the freediving course, not a part of the course, but I'll show you that at the end of the video. Bit of a snake encounter. So, what is a level 2 freediving course? What do you have to do? How do you pass it? What are the things you learn? What does it cost? I'm going to go through all the information you need to know before doing a level 2 freediving course yourself. First thing I want to talk about is picking the course. There's a lot of different courses out there to choose from, but most of them will have a level 1, level 2 and level 3 progression. The course I picked this time was level 2 because I've done a level 1 course already. I did my level 1 course with a certification company or institution called SSI, and for my second one, because they're all mostly interchangeable, I actually did it with PADI, which is very common among scuba divers, but they also do a freediving course. So I did a level 2 PADI course. This was with a company called the Pressure Project at the Sunshine Coast, and it cost me, I think it was about $600 for the course, which was actually about $100 cheaper than some of the other courses available that I could see near my area. So I was pretty happy with the price. Now, other costs that might be involved with a freediving course, level 1 or 2, is that if you've got health conditions, if you've had surgery recently, other sorts of serious health conditions, you might need to actually get signed off by a GP. They give you like a checklist, and if you tick no on any of the answers, just saying like, no, I'm not okay in this way, then you need to go to a GP and get that certified, and that's more expensive than a normal GP visit. It's a couple $100. I did that for my level 1 freediving course, and I didn't have to do it for my level 2 because I'd done that within a year. So still, it was only $600 for me, but if you haven't done that GP check, you might need to factor in another couple of $100 for that too. So cost aside, it's a bit expensive, but I think it's well worth it. The 2 days are fantastic. So how does the course work? Well, the course I did was split over 2 days. The first day includes some theory and breath work and some time in the pool to practice. And then the second day you actually go out in a boat and you get to practice freediving in the ocean, which was a lot of fun. Now, before day 1 even starts, you actually get sent some online learning. That's a little online course. It's very similar if you've done level 1 freediving course. It's very similar to that. But it's actually much quicker and easier. Certainly with the PADI system, I found it. The course online for level 2 was much quicker than the level 1 I did for SSI. Some of the things that the level 2 course covered were just more detail in areas like physiology, equipment you use, the freediving disciplines and different things people try to break records in, how you can pick a nice spot to freedive, just lots of little things like that. I think some of the most important things for me was learning about the physiology and how my body responds to holding my breath and diving deep. One thing that they focused on a lot in the level 2 freediving course was the idea of lung squeeze. And that's the concept of where your lungs have got a certain volume at the surface. And as you dive deeper, the pressure from the water actually, because you've got air in your lungs, it's going to compress under the pressure. And so your lungs actually, I think when you get to about 20 meters deep, you've only got about a third of your lung volume because of all that pressure. So it sounds horrible, but our lungs are very good at adapting to those different pressures. But you do need to be careful that as you go down to, I think for guys it's about 40 meters, that you've got to be careful if you've got a full breath of air. Your lung volume goes really, really small below what's called the residual volume. And then you can actually get some internal bleeding with your lungs and get, bubbly pink blood coming out through your mouth. Pretty nasty stuff. So that's not necessarily going to happen at 20 odd meters if you take a full breath before you dive. But that's some things that we learnt in the course. The other thing in the course that I thought, the online portion of the theory, which I thought was very useful, was the concept of timing your dive if you're buddying someone else who's done their dive. So let's say the person diving dives down, they're trying to get to say 20 meters, and then they're on their way back up. And what you want to do is you want to meet them down a certain portion of the way. And I can't remember the maths at the moment, but essentially I think it's about 5 or 10 meters from the surface, and then you add a bit of extra time just to be sure. And so you count, about a second a meter for the person going down, and then you think about, okay, well, how long is it going to take them to get back up? I want to meet them about 3/4 of the way of their dive, somewhere about that. Again, if you do the course, you'll get the numbers right. I think I might get them a little wrong, but you're trying to meet them at a certain point of the dive so you can follow them up for the last section, which is when they're going to have the least amount of breath. And that way, if they do black out or they show signs of loss of motor control, you're right there with them, watching them eye to eye, so you can quickly grab their chin, the back of their head, and swim them up to the surface and do the blow tap talk. Make sure that they can actually regain consciousness and be okay. So after the theory section of the online course, there's actually a little final exam at the end of that. This is very similar to the level 1 course. And the exam had, I think, 25 questions for me. And it's really not that hard. If you read through everything properly and go through the review questions, I think it took me about 15 minutes or something like that to get through the 25 questions. And I think I got one wrong or even all of them right, something like that. And you need 75% to pass. So it's not a big issue. And I think if you fail, you just redo the course until you get it, or redo the exam again and again until you get it right. So I don't think it's a matter of losing your money and having to redo it. So after the online course is finished, we move along to day 1 training. And in this day, you have a theory session where it's like a revision of what you've learnt in that online material. And then you have some breath work where they just talk about breathing well and how to relax, and actually do a sort of a breath work meditation-like session with you while you're lying down on the grass, next to the pool. And then eventually you get in the pool and do some pool work. And for me, I actually did my theory in person, or actually online as well, because I was the only level 2 student that day. Everyone else was level 1. So a level 2 qualified instructor, the guy who actually runs the pressure project, he just had a Zoom meeting with me just to run through the theory stuff, which was essentially just going through the same questions I had in the exam. And he was just giving some more practical insights as to what that means, how I can think about it, and just checking my knowledge. So that was pretty straightforward. And then I rocked up after the level 1 people had finished their theory section on the first day. Met them there to do the meditation breathwork section where the instructor led us all in that. And so that's very relaxing. You just chill out and relax and think about good things and breathe really calmly. Really good way to get you relaxed, ready for the pool session. The pool session, again, if you've seen my level 1 course video, both days were very similar for level 2. It's just that the requirements are slightly different, essentially a bit harder to do. But if you've practiced, it should be fine. So the level 1 students had to do a static apnea where you're just floating in the water with your head down and you snorkel out, hold your breath for about 1:30. I think that was the pass mark for them. For myself, because I was doing level 2, that was 2:30. And I've actually been practicing a lot beforehand, so I knew I could do that, and that went really well. Turns out I actually managed to hold my breath for 3:54. A little shy of 4 minutes, but I'm pretty happy about that. After doing the static apnea, we do a dynamic apnea, and that's where you're at one end of the pool, you start at the end, just hold your breath, go under, you've got your flippers and your weight belt on, and you're just kicking along while you're just watching the black line, holding your breath, and you just see how far you can go. And for the to pass the course requirements for level 1, I think they had to make 40 meters, something like that. But for level 2, I had to make the full 50 meters. And I did fairly well. I managed to do a turn, and get 75 meters, which I was pretty happy to get, but that was right at my limit. So yeah, passed that content. And then after doing the dynamic apneas, we moved to a deeper pool area, because the pool that we went to has a little springboard diving board that you can dive into a deeper pool area. And that was about 4 meters deep, 3.7 meters, I'm pretty sure was the depth. So we could practice some duck dives there, diving all the way down, practicing equalization on the way down. So you hold your nose. You could do Valsalva, which is where you actually push air up from your lungs to pop your ears, or you can do Frenzel, which is better, and that's especially what we're trying to do in the level 2 learnings. So you hold your nose, and instead of using air from your lungs, you're actually using just the air within your mouth and sinus areas and ears, and you use your tongue to sort of pump air to click your ears open. And there's a certain technique where you try and, I think they were telling me I had to have my tongue more kind of rounded and up, so it's got more air behind it. And that was important for deeper dives. But anyway, the Frenzel is what I was practicing. This is only 3.5 meters, so didn't go that very deep, but we also practiced some buddy rescue dives as well in that pool. And that's where you dive down, someone lets a few bubbles go, which is the sign that someone's passed out, so we're just pretending. And then your buddy dives down quickly, equalises as they go down, because you don't want to be in trouble yourself. And then you grab their chin and the back of their head, and you straighten your arms, kick as fast as you can up, get them above the surface. And then what you do is you sort of wrap your arm under their arm and around their back to prop them up. And then you take their mask off, and then you blow tap talk, I think is what they called it. Blow across their face, tap their cheek, and speak to them and say breathe and their name. My buddy was Sai, so I go breathe, Sai, breathe. And that sort of, those three things are really important to help people regain consciousness if they have blacked out. Again, all of that stuff you actually learn in the level 1 course. So all the level 1 students have to do this too. It's just in level 2, they want to make sure that you've got it really down pat and you're doing it well. And I found that very beneficial for me, because I really wanted to, I guess, get some more practice in for buddy rescues, so that if that ever does happen, when I'm out diving with people and I need to rescue them, my skills are just that much better, give me that more chance of saving someone's life. So that was all for the pool session day 1. Now, day 2, got there fairly early, and this was at Mooloolaba Wharf. We got on a boat, had all our gear, so you got your diving belt, your flippers, your wetsuit, snorkel, all of that. And then we actually went out quite a fair way. It was at least a couple of kilometres offshore, I think. I'm not a great judge of distance on a boat. But on our way out, it was pretty cool. We saw 2 sets of whales. There was one on one side, the other on the other side. So we ended up following, because they've got the license to do this with the pressure project, they're actually allowed to take people on whale diving experiences, where they essentially get their boat, which is quite a safe, softer boat, get ahead of the whales, intercept their path from quite a way away. We all get our snorkeling gear on, jump in the water as quietly as we can, because you don't want to spook the whales. You wouldn't think you could do that, but apparently big whales can be spooked and sort of swim off. And then we slowly just sort of swim over. Once the whales are aware of you, you all just hang around the same spot, and you just hope that they're feeling curious on that day. So we didn't have them swim underneath us, which was a bit of a shame. But it was awesome to be in the water within, say, 50 meters of these massive, I think were humpback whales. But anyway, that's not what the course was about. We just managed to get that on the way, which was pretty cool. Got back in the boat and then got to our location for the diving. So they throw these buoys out the back on a line, and they're just connected. There's 2 of them tethered to ropes, tethered to the back of the boat, and that's sort of just, it drifts behind. We all jumped out, got into two groups, and did our diving on those buoys with two instructors. And on those floating buoys, you've got a line that goes straight down onto a weight, and that's your dive line. That you've got a little lanyard that you're attached to. And you dive down and up that line to work out to do your depth dives, constant weight diving, free immersion, a few different techniques. For the free immersion, you grab with your hand, you very gently turn yourself around, do your duck dive, you find the line just one hand at a time. You don't kick, you just hold the rope with one hand and you just pull down like this, so you're pulling yourself down. And then as you're doing that with your other hand, you're actually going to equalize as you're doing that. And then you grab the next one, equalize, like that. And you go all the way down to the bottom of the length of the rope, which I think they set to about 10 meters for us on our first dives. And then you do that on the way up. And that's just a good way to practice your equalization. Get any, issues out of the way if your equalizing is not right, because it's very painful if you don't get your equalization right. And then did that a few times each, and then once that was all good, we moved on to doing the normal diving where you don't hold the rope and you kick down, and that's where we went much deeper. Now, while this was happening, I was actually floating up the top, because you do it one at a time with the instructor going down with you, and the other people just sit and float at the top near the line. It's actually a shark that came in, and I thought it was a dolphin, so I said, "Oh, it's a dolphin," and then I had a look underwater, and there was this probably 1.5 meters, maybe close to 2 meters, shark, which was right about 3 meters underneath me with its big, thick, pointed nose right under me. And I was thinking, "Oh, okay." So I tried to keep nice and calm. I just let them know. I said, "Oh, I think it's a shark." The instructors turned around. They followed it and swam down with it. They thought it was a silky shark. I'll put a photo of a silky shark here. I think that I had a very good look at it when I first saw it, because it was very close to me to start with, and then it sort of swam away. And I noticed it had a black tip on its dorsal fin. So maybe black tip shark or something like that. But the instructors had spent a long time in the water, so it was probably a silky shark. But yeah, that was pretty cool actually. And once the shark swam off, I was half expecting us to have to pack up and all get in the boat. But then we all just got together on the buoys, waited a minute, and then they're like, "Yep, let's keep going." And we kept diving. So that was pretty cool. I mean, I've swum with sharks before, so I wasn't too concerned. But I feel a bit sorry for the level 1 free divers. I don't know what they were like with sharks, and that might have, if you're feeling stressed, it's that much harder to hold your breath when you're diving. So that would have been a challenge for them, I imagine. But we all got through it, and it was a cool experience. Anyway, we went on to the normal diving, or constant weight diving, where you're just, you do your duck dive, they lengthen the rope out a bit longer, and you just dive down kicking, and you just hold your nose the whole time, so you can equalize regularly as you're going down, and then reach the bottom of where the rope is to whatever they've measured for you, and then on your way up, and you're all sorted. And so I actually did, I think the requirement for me was 20 meters. It was a fair bit less, 10, 15 meters or something for the level 1 course, but I had to do level 2 requirements, so 20 meters. I ended up doing 23 meters, and the instructor thinks the rope was probably a bit stretched or something too, so it could have been a little more, but we'll call it 23, possibly some more than that, and that was really good. So I felt quite good going down. It was interesting though, as I went deeper, to probably about past the 20 meter mark to 23 meters, I actually couldn't equalize. I was really struggling, and I was trying the Frenzel technique, holding my nose and using my tongue to pump the air in, and I was doing that the whole way down. But it's like I had no air to pump. And again, that's that compression effect that we're getting with the pressure as we go deeper. And it turns out that the technique I was using wasn't allowing enough air to be in my mouth cavity, and also the technique of how I use my tongue to pump that air to keep unblocking my ears. So that's something I need to practice a bit more. But it was a crazy experience to be like, I'm used to just being able to equalize whenever I want. And at a certain depth, if you don't equalize quite right on your way down, you actually end up hardly being able to equalize at all. It's like you've got nothing no air to press against with your tongue to equalize your ears. So I still made the 23 meters. I just slowed down a bit and really tried to equalize, got there enough, and then on the way up's nice and easy because you don't need to worry about equalizing. Last thing we did in the ocean day 2 part of the course was actually do some buddy diving, and again there's certain requirements. So for the level 1 people, they had to dive, they had to have someone pretend to need rescuing at a certain depth, and then they dive down, bring them up, and do the blow tap talk and all that. Same thing as in the pool from the day before, but you've just got to do it to a certain depth. And then I had to do that for my level 2 requirements, which was a bit deeper still. I can't remember how deep that was, but I think it was around 10 meters, maybe a little bit more. So yeah, that was all good. And again, really good practice for these rescue skills, which I think are very valuable. If I'm ever in that situation, I want to make sure I'm doing all the right things to save my dive buddy. And that was all for the requirements for day 2. So technically all the core stuff was done, but the great thing about this pressure project company is what they did is they actually took us at the end just to have some fun to Mudjimba Island. And it's got coral and rocks, and probably the biggest attraction is big sea turtles. So we all got to go there and just swim around, snorkel, and enjoy that for probably half an hour to an hour. It was a really good time. And there was also a cave swim through where you actually dive down through a cave, holding your breath, and the instructors are watching, so if you get stuck they can pull you out. You dive all the way through, and that's pretty cool, fun experience. Finally, all got back on the boat, came into shore, and yeah, that was about it. Finished the course, and then a couple of days later they actually uploaded some footage that their instructors took, which I've used a bit in this video as well, which is really nice. They gave the footage away for free too. Didn't have to pay for it, which is what I would have thought would need to do, given it's their footage. But yeah, it's all free, which is fantastic. And yeah, and then you eventually, probably a day or 2 later, you get if you passed your certification, which I did fortunately, you get the email confirming that, and that goes through the PADI system. And then you're a PADI certified level 2 freediver. Happy days. Now, I wanted to mention the near-death experience I had. And I actually think it was near-death, or potentially. And it actually had nothing to do with the freediving course. I would have thought near-death experience would happen from freediving because it's such a dangerous, well, it can be a dangerous sport. But I was actually at the beach on the first day, at Kawana Beach, just chilling out in the sand dunes, and I thought, before the course starts, I'm just going to relax a bit. And so I lie down on the sand dunes, and there were a few holes in the sand dunes, and I thought, it'll be fine. They're probably old snake holes or things like that. You can see where this is going. And as I was lying down there for a while, just chilling out, I was just on my phone, all of a sudden something bumped me on my left shoulder, and when I turned around, there was a juvenile eastern brown snake going nuts, chasing a skink, big thick skink about this big, maybe 20 centimeters long. And I think the skink, when it was running away from the eastern brown snake, which is one of the most deadly snakes in the world, I think the skink was running away and it bumped into my shoulder as it was running away and then kept going. And then I'm going to show the footage here. So I was lying down, and literally centimeters from my neck, an eastern brown snake slithers right past me. So I jump up off the ground straight away. And if it would have bitten me on the neck, I mean, it's pretty tough to survive that. So that's my near-death experience. But it didn't bite me, so I'm all good. So I was checking my shoulder to make sure there was no bite mark. But yeah, I thought, may as well film this. And you can see it's quite an impressive hunting scenario with this eastern brown, like tasting out in the air and on the sand, this skink and following it. And then eventually, if you don't like animal predation, you might not want to watch this, but it does get the snake, does get the lizard in the end, which was quite a spectacular scene. So anyway, if you're doing a freediving course, near-death experience shouldn't be a part of it. But if you do decide to lie down at the beach beforehand, you never know what's going to happen. So to wrap it up, was the course worth it? For me, yes, it certainly was. I thought it was very much worth it. I put some notes down. I thought the price was really good. It was cheaper than the last course I did, which I thought was great. And then the whale encounter, often you pay a couple of $100 specifically to go on these whale dive experiences or snorkel experiences. And we got it thrown in for free for the course just because the whales were there on the day. So that's a big tick. The Mudjimba Island thing was pretty cool. I haven't been there before, so I was stoked to be able to film some wildlife there and dive there. The instructors, they were very helpful, very encouraging, and it really, excited to see you reach your goals in what you're trying to achieve. So I thought that was really great. In terms of what I learned more about the Frenzel equalization technique, and I feel more confident with it now, and I know there's things I can improve on as well. And certainly for my local dives at the Gold Coast Seaway, where I dive to depths of maybe 8 to 10 metres for this pipe where these Queensland gropers are, I'm more than comfortable doing that now, and I know I can stay down there for a while because of how long I can hold my breath. So I'm stoked to be able to have that confidence going there to be able to film for longer when I go down. And learning about lung volume and how the volume shrinks as you dive down deeper because of the pressure, and how that relates to potentially getting lung squeeze, which means it's very important that you have a full breath before you dive deep. You don't want to dive deep on a partial breath because you get lung squeeze earlier. That was all information I thought was very useful that I didn't hear in the level 1 course. So yeah, that was very good. And again, the rescue practice was really valuable for me. I really do value being able to practice rescuing people because I want to make sure that my rescue skills are really proficient. And they're probably not quite there yet, but they're certainly improved. And that means I could end up saving someone's life in a freediving scenario, which I think would be great. So I hope you enjoyed watching the video. If you liked that overview of the level 2 freediving course, make sure you like the video, subscribe to my channel for all sorts of snorkeling content. And if you want to support the sort of video work I'm doing, there's a buy me a coffee link below where you can actually donate financially to what I'm doing. Thanks so much for watching the video. Hope to see you next time. Cheers.